Hello and welcome back to Kalam IAS. I am Shubham Dubey, your faculty for economics. Today I'll be discussing the GS paper 3 mains which has just happened and parts of it we'll be discussing today. Certain parts will be taken by other faculties to tell you what is the trend analysis and what should be done further. So let's see the questions and kind of situations which you must be facing these days while preparing for mains, and also how we can utilize this time period for better aspect also. So let's start. See, first and foremost thing that we need to discuss is the syllabus part. I want to tell you something and will show you also that how the questions are coming and from where the questions in mains are coming. So let's see with the syllabus part first. If we see the syllabus, the Indian economy and issues related to planning, mobilization of resources, growth, development and employment is the first part of the syllabus in the mains examination. If with this part we go forward, this year you have seen a question from the very first topic related to employment. The unemployment question which has came in a 250 words question, 15 marker question. Let me show you that. See, most of the unemployment in India is structural in nature. So if you have a brief idea of the syllabus, you will be able to write the answers at the same time. With that, examine the methodology adopted to measure unemployment in our country, suggest certain improvements, what improvements can be done, what are the challenges. This has been the question. So with this question, I'll tell you how we need to initiate and start this question, but let's go back to the syllabus first. Apart from it, the inclusive growth aspect and issues arising from it. Last year we have seen one question from the inclusive growth. Then government budgeting part. Before that we have also seen the revenue budgeting and capital budgeting, distinguish between them and other parts into that. The agricultural economics part, which includes all these parts. Here you get 1 to 2 questions every year. For say last year there were questions related to the PDS system and other aspects. This year we got 2 questions from the cropping pattern. One question is from here and another question is from the e-technology part in aid to farmers. So simply they are directly asking questions from the syllabus part. If you have brief idea of the syllabus part in the economics context, you will be able to solve the question and write a good answer at the same time. Apart from it, the next question was related to direct and indirect farm subsidy today. See, directly mentioned है syllabus में और वहीं से question भी आ रहे हैं. So definitely this is going to make you things much easier for you. And if we see the trend from last few years, the 80% of the questions are coming from the syllabus itself. And this time almost 100% of the questions have come from the syllabus itself. Then minimum support price. Last year there was a question related to PDS system, objectives, functioning, the limitations, revamping, issues related to buffer stock, food security and technology missions. You can add the thing here and here as well, the question which has come forward. Apart from it, the food processing industry segment, which was the question last year, and they have asked questions multiple times. So there is repetition also in your question paper. But the repetition is not the direct question, but an associated question related to the same topic they have asked in a different language manner. Related industry scope and significance, location, upstreaming and downstream requirements. This was the question last year. The supply chain management part. This year they have asked about land reforms, and the reason being the Swamitva scheme and other land reform segments were there, and they have associated this part because it is a part in the economy syllabus. They have asked a question on it. Then effect of liberalization on the economy, changes in industrial policy. If I talk about the manufacturing question, can we add the question here in this part, right? And their effects on industrial growth. This industrial growth leads to economic growth and other aspects in the economy, and the question was based on this. Apart from it, the infrastructure part like energy, ports, roads and airports. Many a times they have asked these questions from infrastructure part. Almost last 2 to 3 years you have seen every year there was a question. But this time they have left this part. but they may ask further because this is a very important aspect, and also this has much relevance in the Indian economy segment. The investment model part is also missing this time because many a times they have asked about the PPP models and other aspects. So let's see what were the questions in 2022 and what are the questions in 2023 now. So if I see the first question from the investment model itself, if I go back in the 2022, that was why is the public-private partnership required in infrastructural projects? So you need to mention that, why it is required, what role it can play in the infrastructural projects. For that, we need to tell about the challenges of government sector and to an extent private sector also in the infrastructure projects, and why a mediation way like PPP has been introduced. Then the role of PPP model in redevelopment of railway stations in India. Many stations are being redeveloped based on the PPP model. One such example is Rani Kamlapati station of Bhopal. There are certain more stations, even the New Delhi station and other stations are being developed. So the question needs your framework based on the demand. Furthermore, in 2022, there was a question related to inclusive growth. Then, what are the major challenges of PDS system that I told you, and elaborate the scope and significance of FPIs, that is food processing industries in India. See, the questions are directly from the syllabus part, and somewhat they are very direct in nature. From last 2-3 years, you are seeing direct nature questions. After this, certain more questions, if you see, the economic growth in recent past, economic growth was the first topic, and they have associated it with the labor productivity, not activity, it is labor productivity, and with that the increase in employment and other aspect they are asking. So this was the first part of the syllabus. Then again, do you think India will meet 50% of its renewable energy needs? Again, the question is somewhat related to infrastructure part, and somewhat the science and tech part is also involved to an extent, but largely this question was related to shift from subsidies to fossil fuel. This was a question of economy. Then what is the main bottlenecks of upstreaming and downstream processes of agricultural products in India? You have seen the previous year. Now let's see what they have asked this particular year. So first question, faster economic growth requires increased share in the manufacturing sector in GDP, particularly of MSMEs. Then comment on the present policies of government in this regard. If I talk about this question, this has the demand of two subparts largely. First is how manufacturing sector is contributing in the Indian economy's growth, and what are the major prospects that if we increase the share, how the development can be faster. Manufacturing sector being a very vital for economic growth because it is labor intensive, it will play a larger role in making India a manufacturing hub and supply chain hub of the world at the same time. And the self-reliant India context or the Atmanirbhar context can be better utilized with the scope of increasing the manufacturing sector's contribution. Even if we see the last 2 decades problem, what was happening and what is happening, that is the jobless growth aspect. And with that jobless growth aspect, you can write better that manufacturing sector can fill that jobless growth context with creating more job opportunities, prosperity in the economy, and a sustained growth at the same time. So these are certain things. With that, you may answer this question, and I'll be discussing this question once I'll tell you a brief of other questions also. Right? This was one question. Again, the trend is similar to it. The trend is asking from the first topic itself. This was part from the industrial policy and the manufacturing policy because they are talking about the present policies of government in this regard. Then, what is the status of digitalization in Indian economy? If you guys remember, especially the students at Kalam IAS who have joined our RLP series, I have discussed both the topics one by one, where we have discussed about the digitalization in overall aspect. Now in the economy aspect, the digitalization will impact all 3 sectors, and it has also impacted at the same time. For example, the primary sector, the secondary sector, and the tertiary sector. So you can write the answer based on all 3 sectors, how it can involve. Furthermore, from economics point of view, in the formalization of economy, or in the financial inclusion process in the economy, how it can help is the answer for this question also. Furthermore, examine the problems faced in this regard and suggest certain improvements. So now you need to know what are those problems with the digitalization process, what are the challenges coming forward in the digitalization process that you need to write to an extent. Again, you need to suggest certain improvements which can make this digitalization of economy in a more better prospect way. So with that, you will be able to answer this question also. So you need to start with digitalization of the economy. What is the current status of it? What are certain reforms which have paved the way for a digitalized economy further? Then the associated challenges or problems of this digitalization, that includes the cyber threats, you can include illiteracy part, you can include digital illiteracy part, the rural urban divide you can include, the again with the technology aspects, people need to be re-skilled at the same time in the different sectors like manufacturing and services sector also. So we have so much of content with this, and we need to comprehend, and also in a precise way we need to write the answer of this question. Apart from this, the next question is, how does e-technology, again I told you e-technology aid to farmers, it was a part of syllabus, how it can help in the production part and marketing part of agricultural produce. Now we have in our classes we have also discussed that what are the major parts where e-technology may help. For example, the technology part in the production, precision farming can come forward, soil health card kind of stuff can come forward, other technology missions which has led to better productivity in the market, mechanization of the market, agricultural farms and produce also at the same time will help further. Again, the question is related to the marketing of agricultural produce, where we can talk about the APMC mandis enhanced with ENAM, produce में safety के measure में you can write Prime Minister Fasal Bima Yojana and other aspects of that. The APMC mandis we can connect with certain more things, ENAM. Apart from this, the context like Operation Greens and use of digital public infrastructure, drones and other aspects can further utilize. The role of FPO or an FPO with digital transformation can also further be helpful to it. So we have a lot of things which we can write how it will help or how it does help the farmers to increase the farm productivity and also ensuring better prices of their produce also. So these are certain things like weather forecast data, the other data which can be better utilized, the precision farming aspect, micro irrigation projects which are further better utilized, the use of the other medium of fertilizers, organic fertilizers and other aspects that you can write into this in the technology part or e-technology part aspect. Also how much requirement is there with the soil health card and other aspects, you can better assess that. So there are certain more things where linkages and other aspect can work and you can write a better answer to it. Apart from it, the next question, which was state the objectives and measures of land reforms. What was the objective of land reform and what are the measures of land reforms which has been taken in past years and how much it is successful to an extent, you can write that also. Then discuss how land ceiling policy on land holding can be considered as an effective reform under the current economic condition. Again, there are many landless laborers, or some people have very less lands and also disputed lands. So with that, land reform may play a very vital role. For example, is Kerala or other states also where land reform has happened, and certain more states where it has not happened, there are many bottlenecks to it. So with that prospect, we can write the Swamitva scheme and other schemes also which are as per this. And with that, we can make a full-fledged answer in the 10 marker things. So this is 150 words, 10 marker questions. and all these questions have been asked directly from the syllabus, and the trend is almost similar, which it has been from last 2 to 3 years. They are asking the questions from the syllabus only. They are not asking the different questions. The land reform is there, e-technology aid to help is there. This is a part of the Indian economy development context. Further, this is from the industrial policy, and we can connect it with the economic growth also. Thereafter, there are 4 questions from 250 words, which are 15 marker. With that, the first question, that is, most of the unemployment in India is structural in nature. Examine the methodology adopted to compute unemployment in country and suggest improvements. First of all, you need to define what is unemployment. Then with the unemployment part, either you can define unemployment, or also you can define the rising unemployment in India with certain data. For example, Central for Monitoring Indian Economy gives certain data which you can mention, the data of NSO you can mention, and certain more data from Labour Bureau or other aspects we can mention with the introductory remarks. Then we need to define structural unemployment, and with that we need to connect it is in India's context. We all know what is structural unemployment. It is the mismatch between the skilled people possess and the job availability in the market. Again, Indian economy में अगर हम देखें तो prevalent है structural unemployment. We can take the example of agriculture and other aspects also. For say, there are only 51% Indians who are eligible for jobs or other things, who are actively looking for jobs. So that can also be another context. With that, we have certain important points to mention. First, introduce this part. Thereafter, we need to write the answer, how this is structural in a way, just in a single sentence or 2 sentences, how it is impacting India's growth and also employment opportunities aspect. Then we need to go on the second part, where we need to examine the methodologies adopted to compute unemployment in India. For that, we have certain measures which we can mention in our answer. The such measures are usual principal and subsidiary status. That is one part of measuring unemployment by NSO. Then the weekly status part, average weekly status. There is certain current daily status is also there. Apart from it, the labor force participation rate. Then that periodic labor ratio aspect, that we can also write. Apart from it, an overall unemployment rate which is being mentioned. So labor force participation, periodic labor creation part, everything we can write in this aspect, and with that we need to examine whether they are assessing the actual situation of unemployment or not in our country. What are the lacunas to it, that you can also mention, and post that you need to tell certain reforms and improvements. In the lacunas part, like informal economy is one thing, then the social norms related to doing some job or certain things, that is another part. The status of informal unorganized workers like gig workers, whether they have the work or not, but they are considered as gig workers, or freelancers, whether they have the work or not, that we can also mention in this answer. And post this, we need to talk about that we need a comprehensive methodology to better prospect and also measure the unemployment aspect in India. And further, certain more things should be required. For example, the national unemployment data or other things can also be utilized here with the integration of different data and other policies. So you can write this answer as well. We have sufficient data, and with that we can write this answer. After this, the next question which has been asked is to distinguish between care economy and monetized economy. So first we need to know the difference between what is care economy and what is monetized economy. Somewhat care economy का context हम सब समझते हैं. We can take the example of our mothers, the female family members of our family, what they are doing unpaid care works for us, for our children, in the families, and for other aspects also. So the unpaid work for the caregiving services will be considered under the care economy. And monetized economy, we all know, where there is a payment, where there is certain economic activity which is being paid, is the monetized economy. So there will be certain points which you will be first writing here, and thereafter you need to tell how this care economy can be brought into monetized economy through women empowerment. So there can be many aspects of this. For example, what you see in hospitals, what you see in other caregiving services also, like the role of nannies, the role of nurses, the role of other aspects of women like domestic help and other aspects we can see forward. So with all those aspects, the women empowerment context can be better utilized, and if the income is being given to women, so definitely it gonna help and better prospect the GDP and economic situation of the country also. In that context, you need to write the entire question. After that, explain the changes in cropping pattern in India in the context of changes in consumption pattern and marketing conditions. Here we can start with an example. Before Green Revolution, around 10,000 varieties of rice were available. Now which has, with induced monoculture, it has reduced like anything. Now 10 to 12 varieties we can see hardly. So that we can write with, and we can start with the changes in cropping pattern from a historical perspective कि कब से क्या हुआ. यहाँ पर हम और भी चीजें लिख सकते हैं. Changes in consumption pattern भी है और marketing conditions भी है. Here you can also mention millets or other goods or other products, agricultural products, which has been lost the relevance with passage of time because of increased monoculture, MSP and other aspects also. Then we need to also, when we are explaining all these aspects, we need to also give certain way forward to it. What are things which government is doing to improve the cropping pattern or to diversify the cropping pattern? And this part of question, one part we have dealt in our test series also. Furthermore, the last question, what are direct and indirect subsidies provided to farm sector in India, and discuss the issue raised by World Trade Organization to agricultural subsidies. If you remember our prelims question which has been asked earlier related to different box subsidies, the green box subsidy is somewhat related to it, and the kind of subsidy and kind of export subsidies and other aspects government gives to its farmers or farmers aid in the aid to farmers, it is somewhat violating the international norms under the WTO. But again, for developing countries, the resources are scarce, and for that certain measures needs to be taken. So there are certain waivers also, there are certain disputes at the same time. So all those aspects, if you know, you can better write this answer. Firstly, defining what are direct and indirect farm subsidies. Indirect farm subsidies का सीधा मतलब ये हो गया discounted rate पे कोई product आपको मिल रहा है, and direct का हो गया directly the benefit is transferring to your account through DBT and other options. I hope all these answers which were very direct in nature, which were largely based on the syllabus, this time to complete all the questions are from syllabus only, you must have written a good answer. And with our segment of RLP series, we have given so much of things with MIB booklet and Edge booklet, we have covered almost all the topics there, and definitely the students who have read those booklets and who have been part of our RLP series have got benefited from it. Now let me give a brief detailed analysis or also an answer writing situation for you so that you can better understand how to write a better answer there. So with that, if I talk about the first question which has been asked, faster economic growth requires increased share of the manufacturing sector in GDP, particularly of MSMEs. Comment on the present policies of government in this regard. So for this question, how you gonna start this question, that is one part. If we go ahead with this question, first of all, you need to segregate the part, like the first part is the faster economic growth requires increased share in the manufacturing sector. So what you need to do, to introduce this question and to substantiate the first statement also. So let me show you certain things which you can better utilize, like the contribution of manufacturing sector, particularly MSME, if you can write, and if you don't know the MSME sector, write it in an overall, because they have given the particularly of MSME and the expected potential of it to better add on in the growth prospect. After this, you can write why increased share of manufacturing is required and how it will further help in the faster economic growth in the main body aspect. Also, you need to talk about the present policies of the government in a comment way. Whenever we comment, we try to assess a bit the situation and the schemes and policies of the government at the same time, and then the concluding remark. So let's see what you can do with this particular question. I hope you understood that first you need to define the importance of manufacturing sector in the economic growth aspect, and then the potential. Post the potential, we need to know, we need to tell why and how wala context that you need to write related to it. You need to add on the MSME because it has given particularly MSME. So we need to add on the MSME part, but the entire question will not only have MSME, it will have manufacturing, but the special focus should be on MSME part. With the MSME part, if you have space, if you have written a comprehensive or concise answer, you should also tell certain challenges, and because of that certain policies are required so that better share can be ensured of manufacturing sector. So let's see what we can write. You can introduce something like this to substantiate the first part of the question. For say, manufacturing sector in India, which contributes around 17% to GDP and employs around 12% of the country's workforce, is a key contributor in economic growth. Somewhat the first statement you have replicated. Then the government aims to achieve 25% of economy's outcome by manufacturing sector by 2025, where the role of present policies of the government like national manufacturing policy, the design and production linked incentive schemes, the CAPF for logistics and other policies will play a significant role to increase the contribution of manufacturing sector in faster economic growth. Somewhat we have substantiated the first part of the question in the introduction itself. Now what more we can do, we can add on with certain segment of the contribution of MSMEs, because particularly MSMEs के बारे में ज़्यादा focus करना था इस question पे. So let's see what we can write. The contribution of MSME you can mention like the GDP में 29% है, employment में 40% है, the export share is around 50% and 51% of MSMEs are in rural areas. What they do the regional development of that sector, rural industrialization they do, and they also remove the differences and inequality aspect, because around 77% of MSMEs in rural areas are owned by the backward classes. Furthermore, why the manufacturing industry is important, the second aspect of the question, it is labor intensive, it promotes inclusive growth because it has all level of employment from low skilled to high skilled people, it will involve everybody. It will involve the genders, different genders also, and balanced regional development can be ensured with this. So this is one point, because 150 word ki word limit hai, so you have to be very precise while writing the answer. Furthermore point you can add on is related to the challenges, that is the financial constraint they are having, around only 16% having formal access to credit in MSME sector, lack of skilled labor in formal sector, and lack of access to credit and technology at the same time. Either you have two options, you can also skip this part if you are having less word limit, but if you will be writing, definitely it may help you in a better way also. The government policies which has further been utilized, for example, सबसे पहली चीज क्या थी, क्रेडिट अवेलेबिलिटी का इशू था, तो फाइनेंशियल सपोर्ट के लिए गवर्नमेंट ने क्या क्या किया, यू नीड टू राइट दैट. प्राइम मिनिस्टर क्रेडिट गारंटी स्कीम, credit linked capital subsidy scheme, Atmanirbhar Bharat package, then Mudra Yojana. What else? The Make in India 2.0, वहाँ पे जहाँ पे सब सेक्टर्स और बाकी इन्वॉल्वमेंट है, स्टार्टअप इंडिया, स्टैंड अप इंडिया, लिबरलाइजिंग एफडीआई, ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस के लिए जो गवर्नमेंट ने इनिशिएटिव्स लिए, डेट यू कैन ऑल्सो मेंशन टू इंक्रीज द शेयर. Furthermore, use of disruptive technologies like Industry 4.0, with that artificial intelligence, then enterprise resource planning with cloud computing and other aspects, Internet of Things, blockchain, etc. All the things you can mention because you have enough and sufficient content, fact as well as data. Whenever you will be writing all these, try to substantiate with certain examples, certain facts if you are having that. For example, around 58% MSMEs, not MSMEs, 58% of manufacturing industries which has adopted this disruptive technologies, that is digital transformation or Industry 4.0, are benefiting themselves by increasing productivity and also contributing in a faster growth. Thereafter, certain more things like natural manufacturing policies mentioned. You must mention all these things. The PLI schemes for 15 manufacturing industries has led a significant improvement. Here you can quote the example of electronics industries or FDI which has come forward. The plug and play parks, flatted factory context for MSMEs, the manufacturing clusters. Particularly for MSMEs में अगर आप जाएंगे, you can also write in the subheading, modification in the definition, that is also helping in the inclusion process of the MSMEs. The emergency response program, which is an agreement between World Bank and GOI for around $750 million loan agreement, and retailers and traders, which has been included in the MSME. The Spurti scheme for the revitalization or rejuvenation of traditional industries like khadi and coir board and other etc. Improving ease of doing business, the concept of land bags, geographical information system, single window system for license approvals, the portals like Udyam portals, Samadhan portal, the ramp scheme to improve access of MSMEs to technology and credit and other aspect and market also, technology upgradation, champion, self-reliant India fund. All these aspects you can write for better growth prospect of MSMEs in the government policy aspect. Now if you get certain, because the space is very less, so you need to write in a precise manner, and all these will complete your 150 word limit also. You can conclude with certain remark like, although India has seen higher growth rate in last 2 decades, but it did not convert into much job opportunities. Supporting and investing in a manufacturing sector can play a significant role in long-term economic prosperity and sustained growth. That is somewhat related to the faster economic growth. So with all these aspects, you could have written a better answer, and with that better answer, the person can perform better. 0.25, 0.50 extra marks will play a very important role in your selection process. This was from the economic side. Now I'll move forward to tell you a bit about economy's trend and how much marks it is coming and what is the relevance of that. If you see, every year almost 8 questions are coming from last 4 years. This was the 4th year, and 100 marks are being ensured from the economics aspect. So that makes it very important. The economics and agricultural economy part quite an important subject. Apart from it, now I'll give you a brief about the science and technology aspect. Though most of the questions were based on current affairs, things were in news, whether in economics or whether in science and technology. But with those contexts, we need to have something conceptual clarity of the instruments and aspects of the economy as well as science and technology. Let's see what is the syllabus and from where the questions have come. Science and technology, the developments and applications and effects in everyday life, the achievements of Indians in science and technology, Indianization of technology, developing new technologies. What further? Awareness in the field of IT, space, computers, robotics, nanotechnology, biotechnology, issues relating to intellectual property right. Largely most of the questions which you see are based on this, and sometimes the question come from these segments also. So every segment is important. Let's see how much important it is to understand better prospect of this also. If we see this time the marks have reduced to an extent, not completely, because if we intersect two questions, one question intersects two subjects, so one question will come into this again. So around, on an average, you get 50 marks from this segment. 3 to 5 questions comes. Like for example, 4 questions have come in 2020, 2021 again 4, 2022 5 questions, and this year 3 questions to be very precise. Let's see what are those questions which has come this year. The first question, introduce the concept of artificial intelligence. Very direct and simple question. We are reading artificial intelligence from past 4 to 5 years and the new development into that. Furthermore, how does this AI helps in clinical diagnosis, that you need to write, and thereafter, do you perceive any threat to privacy of the individual in the use of AI in healthcare? So you need to write the theft of your private data and other aspects also. Along with that, the role of AI is very important in the healthcare and other services. So we need to write a conclusion in a positive prospect that the lacunas or the drawbacks of current scenario should be tackled with certain data protection bill or other aspects which we can further utilize. Also, the use of AI had many options. So when you will be introducing this concept, you can make a flow chart where you can tell the different parts where AI can be used, and then you can define this part, how AI is helping in the clinical diagnosis part, and then you need to write this. Let's see the next question. See, this question was the development of new technologies part. Discuss several ways which microorganism can meeting the current fuel shortage. Now, there was a research paper based on that, where you can utilize use of these microbes and microorganisms at different levels. We know the microbial fuel cell, the waste to wealth prospect that we can write. Apart from the microbes which convert the solar energy into chemical energy, further that can be utilized in the electricity part and other aspects that we need to write. And other aspects you can mention into that, because again it is 150 word 10 marker question, you have sufficient space to write. Here you should better if you draw some pictorial things, that will further help you. Let's see further. The alga aspect, biodiesel and other jatropha and other things we can mention also here. There further, with the next question, what is the main task of India's third moon mission, Chandrayaan 3? This is a 250 word, but बहुत ही clearly सब topics दे दिए इन्होंने इस question में. First thing is, इसका main task क्या था? एक तो soft landing का हो गया, दूसरा exploration में possibilities, water and other aspects. Then further smooth walking of the rover, लैंडर की स्मूथ लैंडिंग का हो गया कॉन्टेक्स्ट, ये सारी चीजें वी कैन मेंशन फर्दर. देन विच हैज नॉट बीन अचीव्ड, तो हमें ये बताना कि क्या अचीव किया था, क्या अचीव नहीं किया था उस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में. देन वी नीड टू लिस्ट द कंट्रीज दैट हैव अचीव्ड this task before India, US and other countries. Then introduce the subsystem of in the spacecraft launched. So there were subsystems. What were those subsystems that you need to write? The lander, rover aspect and other sub instruments. If you know, you can write that. Or in a simpler way, some interferometer is used, some spectrometer is used, or any other thing which has been used, we can write that also. Then here GSLV, Mach 3 or LMV 3, that we need to mention also here. And then this virtual launch control center, we need to talk a bit about it and how it has helped. So many things were in use. So I hope this question was also a very much doable question along with these two questions, and with science and tech and the economy part, you have done much justice to your paper also. Now I want to share certain more things to you which will further help you, the students who were not able to qualify prelims this time, or the students who are a bit demotivated just after the mains. Don't get demotivated. You never know whether whatever you have written, the examiner may get a good insight and you get better marks also. Also, to ensure better performance of yours, we have come up with two different programs. And what are those two different programs that you need to know? First such program is the Bootcamp program. With the Bootcamp program, especially for the students who will be writing prelims 2024 and mains 2024, who are preparing for 2024 attempt, for them we have launched a prelims program. With that prelims program, these are certain major advantages which you must know, and this program is going to start from 19th September onwards. You can call us here or you can visit our website. Definitely it's gonna help you a lot. Then the mains program, for better marks improvement and other aspect of mains writing, with our SAR booklet and our SAR series, you will be able to understand the quality enrichment, what it is and how it's gonna happen in your answers. So just join us with our this Bootcamp program for prelims 2024 and mains 2024. And we are happily telling you that we have initiated an innovative program, that was replay program, which is still going on. Today we will be having the ethics paper which some students have just given. This replay program is very much important to make yourself assess the actual environment, the actual question paper which UPSC has asked. Pariksha ke din, pariksha wala aspect. So with that, even if somebody wants to join this, somebody wants to make answer writing part, you can join this replay program by getting more information from here or registering to our website. Your answer copies will be evaluated, the face-to-face evaluation will also happen, and definitely you will feel something more betterment in your preparation prospect. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope the discussion part and the trend analysis part was somewhat much better and insightful for you. Thank you.